Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, gotta figure out where my dials are here. There we are. Okay, tonight I thought I would go back and do something I haven't done in a while. The material design project has been kind of sitting on a side burner with a bunch of other stuff I had going on. And there's been a few outstanding bugs that I'd like to get wrapped up, and then more importantly, another release out the door. For those people who maybe have upgraded to the 4.4 release, there was two bugs in it that have caused quite a bit of confusion and commotion. One was the new tab control that dropped. There was an issue where the foreground color on the tabs didn't quite or wasn't showing up. That has halfway been addressed, hoping to take care of the other half tonight. And then there was an issue with the context menu background color not being set, or most people reporting that it looked transparent. So those two things in WPF more or less look identical. So the goal tonight is going to be to hopefully wrap up that tab control, and we will see about prepping another release to get going out the door, which I think would be rather cool to do. So without further ado, a couple updates, because there's some cool stuff going on. Okay, so first, quick plug for GitKraken. So GitKraken 8.4.0 came out earlier this week, and the terminal button now opens the terminal up in a nice little panel inside of it, rather than toggling over and opening up a new tab. Previously, what you would end up doing is having this terminal tab opened here, which you can still get to the terminal tab if you prefer to have them separated on tabs. But if you're like me and would prefer to have the terminal sort of just embedded and either, if I want to get down to the command line, great, I can do that. Or if I'd prefer to just work with the UI, great, I can do that still. That's pretty cool. Okay, next cool thing that happened. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Okay, I'm going to show something really amazing. Manage NuGet package on the material design solution. Okay, now some of you, especially people who are familiar with Visual Studio and NuGet package management, are probably thinking that I'm crazy. This is awesome. This screen is amazing. But this screen is not amazing to a lot of people because this has been around for years. Lots of versions have this package manager. But what's absolutely amazing to me is this is not using normal NuGet packages. So if we look at like the WPF package down here, right? Or actually the demo app's probably a more exciting one to look at. If we look at the demo app, CS Proj, you'll note down here, the package references don't look normal. Normally what you would see inside of one of these things is something that also included the version number of your package, not just the name. So there's been a feature that's been in preview for quite a while called directory packages prompts, which gives you a centralized way of managing all of your NuGet package versions. The big drawback with using it was that there was no UI support. And with the latest preview build of Visual Studio and NuGet, they dropped support for it, which is, and by dropped, I mean released support for it. So you can now use centralized package management and not lose anything. This is pretty cool. I will probably start converting all of my projects over to this because this is a very nice way to be able to go through and manage all of my dependencies, because very rarely do you have a situation where you want a different version of a NuGet package in two different projects within your solution. That's kind of rare. Most of the time, if I'm, say, referencing Humanizer or Ma apps, I want the same version in all the places. So, for what it's worth, that's pretty cool. Okay. So, haven't had a lot of chance to play with it yet, but very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so working on stuff for tonight. So this tab control one, 2602, was the main issue that was bothering people with this guy. Now, the problem that came out of this, so I submitted a fix and got some of it in and done. The problem that came up after I merged my fix in is there was an issue where, so the text foreground problem is resolved, but the bottom border, the current tab highlight, and so the bottom border is missing, is the current reported bug. So I cracked this thing back open, and that's what I'm looking to try to address tonight. So first of all, let's take a look at this. So specifically, when I did this, I wrote a test because that's what I do. Okay, so if we do this guy here and just debug this test, this should fire up. It's probably gonna have to recompile. I just merged a bunch of stuff, so all the solution code and everything is getting redone. I'm also noticing some warnings from that centralized package management. So might have to go and look at those warnings and figure out what those are all about. 0 package sources defined in your configuration. Please map your package sources with package source mapping. Okay. We will look at that too. Like I said, that just released recently and I haven't had a chance really to play too much with it, so. Okay, so I agree with the assessment that... What's going on here? Window is hung. I agree I'm on a breakpoint, but that was interesting. We're going to try this one more time. So I agree I was on a breakpoint, but at the same time, that runs out of process. That would be weird if there was some way for the breakpoint in Visual Studio to pause this interaction. Weird. That appears to be exactly what it's doing. Either that or I just am getting no... Yeah, I can't even grab the window header. Okay. Okay. Await tab. That is both cool and terrifying all at the same time. Let's see. So how about from minutes 3? We'll just hang it for a brief moment, because I should be able to click around on that window that pops up. So for people unfamiliar with this is a library I wrote called XAML test. It lets you basically inject some little bits of XAML and then write something that feels like a UI test over it. See, now I can click on this. Okay. That is bizarre. If I pause this, it hangs this window. What the heck? Oh. Oh. Okay. I think I know what's going on. You, sit on the side here for a second. I may have implemented a feature and forgotten about it. I did something rather intriguing the other day. Remote debugging code execution. So, hang on, come up here. Is there a way to not turn on white space viewing? So I implemented an interesting thing that will attempt to attach the debugger to the remote running code when launched in debug mode, so that you can actually debug your code. Okay, so that code is working as designed. That's a little cool. Kind of forgot I had implemented that. Okay, it's great when a feature comes together. Okay, so, but we still do have the problem that underline doesn't exist. So the expectation here, let's go and pull open the template, because I think what we're going to do is just start with writing a test, because we can probably figure out what the expectation is here pretty quick. Let's see. Tab. I'm just blind. Okay. Not surprising. Not surprising. Okay, so let's find Visual Studio. Please don't jump on me. Okay, tab control base, and I think I'm looking for that underline. I'm looking for a border. Tab control. That guy there, that guy there. Tab item. I believe this is it. Hey, Robert. Yes, this time it's WPF. Trying to figure out why my tab control doesn't work the way I expect. Selection highlight border. This is the guy that should do it. Yeah, because the border thickness, so this is the one that should show the underline when the tab is selected. So border thickness of 2 on the bottom has a binding on color zone assist foreground, which is probably what's not being defaulted or set. So let's go back here. I'm going to put back the task delay. I'm just going to run this test. Visibility hidden. Well, yes, visibility is hidden there, but if we look down here on selected, there's a trigger that overrides it. So I'm guessing it's there. Okay, back into Snoop. I'm guessing it's there and just not, and just doesn't have a brush assigned to it. If we jump into here, so for people who missed it, that is Control-Shift inside of Snoop once you get it attached to your app, and that's what zeroes you in on this guy here. Let's see, so color zone, there's the tab item, selected highlighted border, and I'm going to go with border brush. Yeah, so border brush here is empty. Okay, so that should have been set based upon here. Move you. That should have been set to color zone assist foreground. So if we come over here and look at color zone assist foreground, it is not set, which is why this is not being applied. Yeah, so this is making the unfortunate assumption that that it doesn't show up. Yeah, so Snoop is one of the de facto tools I would tell anybody doing WPF development to work with. You can get similar features inside of Visual Studio. I will say that. They have their live visual tree. Snoop has a couple really nice features, and the UI for interacting with it is incredible. The one advantage the live visual tree in Visual Studio has is because it knows about your code, it can do links back into the right XAML files for you, which can be helpful because now I just have to intrinsically know, oh, this is coming from the template from my tab item, which I know, so I know what file to look in. But the one in Visual Studio would give you a link back into the file, which is cool. Snoop, however, goes overboard. Beyond just the visual tree, you can do the logical tree, the automation tree. You can go in, look at your data context. You can look at events, watch when those trigger. You can see various triggers and behaviors in here. These things are amazing. You can see diagnostics for your binding behaviors. You can look at methods on your data context and just randomly invoke them. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here, which is awesome. Like Snoop has been around for a while, and it is an amazing little app. Open settings folder. I'm not familiar with those. And that is what happens when the task start run or task delay finishes. Okay. So the short version is this thing is assuming color zone assist foreground is set, which is not a valid assumption. And I'm trying to decide what is the appropriate way to handle this. So the issue is color zone assist foreground and background, despite their names, aren't usually set. So these aren't magical properties that get set when you set the mode, and that appears to be how people are are expecting them to behave, which is not a good assumption. These ones are, I think they're even documented. No, of course not. Real quick. File scope namespace. I might just have to go through and do that on a bunch of stuff. Can't help it. I can't help it. If I open the file and I see it, then I have to fix it. So some people prefer big bang refactors. I prefer to take these things piecemeal as I go. So if I have to open the file to see it, fixing it. Probably should have just let it do the whole file. Yeah, because document. Now there's one left. We'll apply it to the whole document. Okay. File scope namespace, new in C#10. And expression bodied members for all the things, for the one-liners, because these are all one-liners and that's all we need. Okay. So the question that, well, let's start with the test. So step 1, we need to get, let's see, color, selected tab underline gets await text block. Oh, not text block. I don't want the text block. So this one, I actually want to grab that border. If we come down here, selection highlight border. The problem being is I need to get zeroed in on the first one. So go there. And this is going to be a border control. Woo! There's a nice jump. Kenny, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We're doing WPF stuff. Okay, so selected tab border. Let's go border here, border here. Okay, so we want to grab the first tab item. And I want to grab the item in here that has that name. Because this was just going in here and finding that. I'm trying to remember exactly what the syntax is. I think it's that. I don't remember. I gotta go look. I wrote the code and I can't even remember. At some point, I need to document what all of these things are. Login issue. While I'm thinking about it. Document query syntax. Because I am tired of not remembering my own syntax. Probably should build something so I don't have to remember magic strings, but we're gonna work with it anyway. Let's see, visual element. Where is it? Oh, is it internal? Where's the visual tree service? Transport internal host. Yeah, this guy. Okay, so we are looking for the private helper. I believe it's down near the bottom. That tells me what my query syntax is. Nope. Nope. Okay, so this is it. So current query, yeah, so if it starts with a little tilde, the thing following it is the name of the element to look for. So I guessed right. So in terms of just the way XAML test works, this says start from the tab control, find the child element that is of type tab item. If there is more than one, grab the one at index 0, i.e. the first one. So we're going to grab this guy. And then within inside of him, find the one that is the selected highlight border. And I think I have to drop this because the slash, I believe, indicates type. So it's kind of weird looking syntax, which is part of why I think I should make it better. Anyway, so we're going to go there. And then the property we care about it is the border color. So normally you would end up going something like selected tab border, get border brush, but I also generate helper methods to pull the color, because oftentimes, especially, I wrote this library largely for testing the material design stuff. And very often when in material design, you aren't dealing with gradients, they're just solid color brushes. So in those cases, you can just call get color rather than getting the brush, then getting the color, because that was way too common. So there's a fancy little source generator that builds all of these happy extension methods, and then more importantly, generates tests for all of them. XAML test has a ridiculously large number of tests, and most of them are auto-generated, which is even better. I'm in awe of your magic strings. I think the word you're looking for is frustrated with the horribleness of my magic strings, but we're gonna make sure this works, because I want to make sure that it actually retrieves the selected tab border, and actually we should put a breakpoint there and catch it. I thought "ah" sounded better than horrified. It does. It sounds a little better. It's okay to be horrified at weird, ugly looking magic strings. Oh, and I just realized the drawback with me setting the topmost property on the window is we got to do something funky. But yes, it does in fact find the selected tab border. Huzzah. And I assume it is getting annoying. I need to move this guy off. The fact that the debugger always being attached is both an awesome feature and a terrifying feature all at once. But okay, so it does work, and now the question is what type of assertion should it be? So before we were just asserting that the text foreground and background have an expected contrast ratio, because regardless of how the themes are set, we expect that this thing should that the header should have a reasonable contrast. We should never end up with like the background is white and the foreground is white or close to white. So this just makes sure that there's a reasonable contrast ratio between it. So if people are interested, the material design spec actually defines out what the expected contrast ratio is to be between your foreground and background colors, which is actually not a bad thing to leverage if you are just trying to do basic UX design. If you're not sure if your colors have an appropriate contrast ratio, just measure it. There's websites out there that will execute this same contrast ratio formula. So I documented, if people are interested, there. This is just in the color assist class. But this will calculate the contrast ratio according to this big long specification that has a lot of web content accessibility guidelines. So I just implemented the spec, which as you can see is not horribly complicated to do. And then the material design specification just calls out, hey, according to this contrast ratio, this is the values you're expected to have. Why am I being disconnected and reconnected to my own chat server? That's exciting. Test. Okay. So that works there, but now I'm trying to decide what the expected underline is supposed to be. Test 2. Thank you, Robert. I think the appropriate response is ACK, but that's if people want a TCP joke. I think the expectation here. Well, let's go out and look. So okay, so let's go in here and let's take a little look at the components. Tabs. Okay, so what is, yes, I understand. Sorry. Yeah, so this is material design 3, so we got to be a little careful. Okay, so this, oh, see, this is the problem, is they've changed the spec. But regardless, okay. I'm just noticing the underlying color appears to follow the text color, which is probably easy enough to do. Let's see, for active tab indicator. Okay. States and theming. Yeah, so the tab indicator and the text label are expected to follow the same. Okay, so the expectation here is that that underline should match the same as the foreground. So this becomes a very easy assertion. We'll come down here, assert equal foreground, so expected selected tab underline. So worth noting, when you're writing tests, the order of the parameters is always expected value first, actual value second. This really only matters for the failure case where it generates a failed message. As long as you do the expected first, the message reads like you would expect, pun intended. Otherwise, you end up getting things backwards. So in this case, we are asserting on the tab underline color, so it's the right hand side value. I gotta lean back. I'm too close to my camera. I gotta figure out how to back my camera or back me up. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do that. My camera is held to my desk with spare sprinkler parts, so I'm sure I could just get another pipe and back it up a little bit. Okay, so this test should rightfully fail now. We're going to run the test real quick and just confirm, because like a good testing framework, we always start with red and then work to green. Okay, so it failed. Let's confirm that it failed for the reason we expect. Okay. Expected some value, actual value null. Okay, perfect. Now we fix it. Okay, and I believe we should be able to change this. I think we don't actually want... I'm trying to decide if I want this color zone thing set here or not. It's probably okay. I'm really tempted to just grab the text element foreground and roll with that. So let me jump back here real quick. The fix on this side, I just want to look at exactly what changed. So I really just stripped off the background and foreground assignments. Because those shouldn't have ended up mattering anyway. Got it. And if I recall correctly, color zone is hip to paying attention. Oop, I had to look at it. File scope namespace. I did do that on my test class, right? Yes. Good. Let me look at the color zone template real quick too. That's defaults. I want generic. Is it in defaults? These ones. No. 2, 3 defaults. So those things just stay in sync. Look at generic. I think it must be in here. That's ripple, underline, date, indicator, color zone. So this guy here will change out his foreground and background based upon his mode, which is why I got rid of the other bindings. So I think what we can do, clean that up. I think what we can do to fix this is we can just change this, because this should follow the color zone always. I think we just bind it to the foreground of that guy. Trying to decide if that's bad or not, because if somebody wants to change it, it doesn't leave a lot of options. Actually, I think that's fine. If they want to change it, they can apply the attached property at the root. Worst case scenario, they have to set mode to custom, set an explicit foreground, and then it works. That's okay. That is okay. I think that works. So we're just going to bind to whatever the foreground is of this guy, because you have a foreground. Yes. Perfect. Okay, so we need to give you a name, because I'd like to reference you. Color zone. Go with color zone header, maybe? I don't know. Naming's hard. A colleague and I were actually making a similar comment to each other earlier today, that naming things is really, really hard for software engineers. Okay, so element name, color zone header, path, and then in this case, I think we can just go with the foreground. But the proof will be in the pudding. Run test. Okay, rebuild the universe, then run the test. There were build errors. Well, that's not good. What are my build errors? I will deal with those warnings in a minute. The process cannot access it because it's being held open by... What? Did you just block yourself from running? We'll have to deal with that NuGet package warning, because those are annoying. I don't like having warnings in my source code. Oh, also, a moment of shameless self-promotion. If people are interested, I know I teased a talk I was doing on MS Build. That is out now. I will warn you that so it's kind of okay. We had some audio glitches, and so there may be a new version that gets uploaded. I haven't had a chance to look at the recording to see if the audio glitches were just live streaming up to YouTube, or whether there was a issue with the recording. But if you're interested, that's my company's YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like. What is holding on to that process? Is there a rogue XAML test process or something running somewhere? Who is holding on to this? Visual Studio, if you're holding on to it yourself, I'm going to be a little annoyed. VS Test Console. $20 says that's the one. Look at that. Test console was it. Lucky guess. And more importantly, test passes. Okay, cool. So we fixed our test. Let's just double check it against the demo app to make sure nothing looks out of place. We'll call that a win. Okay, so tab controls. I mean, that appears to be following the rules that I would expect. The underline matches the font color. We haven't broken anything there. One other thing I will call out. So you'll note that when we were on the the material design page, there was material design 3. So there is actually a separate demo app inside of the repository. You might notice that it looks a little different. I have had some amazing community contributions going through and adding in some pretty slick stuff. Just for showing like badge controls. This just merged earlier. And by earlier, I mean literally like an hour ago. And some of this stuff is similar, but we are slowly adding material design 3 styles to the library. So it is not something that I will say is officially in and fully supported, but yeah, it's in and it's being shipped. So if you'd like to start using them, you can. The subtle change to switch in from material design 2 to material design 3 is over here. Material design 3.defaults.xaml. Contrast that with what you probably already have in your app now, which is either material design themes.defaults. There is also material design 2.defaults. At some point in time, we are going to abandon the themes portion of this altogether, and this defaults dictionary will go away. And you'll either need to specify a 2 or a 3 here to pick which one you want. You technically can specify both, but do know that you are going to run into some potential conflicts because you can only have one implicit style per control. So what I mean by that is inside of the library, there are like these defaults where it does an implicit style on, say, button. And you can only have one default style per button. So last in is going to win. So just know that. So if you specify both, you'll have access to all of the resource keys for both Material Design 2 and Material Design 3. But the one you include second is going to be your default. So I don't usually recommend mix and match. Pick the one that makes you happy and use that. Just know that the Material Design 3 one, this defaults list is slowly being converted. You'll note we have the Material Design 3 ones, and then all of the Material Design 2 ones are being included just for backwards compatibility, because it'd be kind of sucky to include 3 and have some controls not get styled. So several of them are being styled, but as you can see, there's a lot to go. So for what it's worth. There is a bunch more in there to be styled and to go. And Stefano Rivolta and Michael Michaelis have been awesome help. So props to either of you guys if you're watching. Okay, so I believe we've got a fix in. So let's make a quick branch. Let's call it fix, and then I don't remember what my issue number is. It's over here. Let's see. 2602. You go away. You're in my way now. Fix 2602. Okay, let's just check these. So we updated our test, which is great. We actually don't want discard that line. I don't want that line in there anymore. Actually, I don't really need that extra line. That'll work. Oh, and I guess I don't need that extra line either. Cool. So that'll work. And then let's see. Inside of here, we named our color zone. We added the border brush binding to it. That works. We did file scope namespace, which is great. You'll note you lose a couple curly braces out of the deal. Technically, it was this curly brace that went away, but Git can't figure that out, so it guessed wrong. This thing here is just a whole bunch of file scope namespace, expression bodied members. Huzzah, we're going to do that. So fixing issue with tab control not showing its underline. Boom. Okay, and then push. Sure, I don't actually care which one it goes to that much. And then collapse. You on GitHub. Yes, you can open your pull request from GitKraken, but here, I'll show you what happens. I'll show you what happens. Start a pull request. So this isn't bad, but there is, as you can see, there's kind of a lot in here. And I really wish it was, you know, I should log that. The fact that I clicked on here and hit start a pull request, it should kind of know what from it is. And ideally should have defaulted this to my default branch. Anyway, hence why I just go here. Fixes the naming issue with the underline in the tab item not showing. Boom. Okay, we're gonna slap that in there. I did put in a 446 milestone just as a heads up, as a we'll call it a landing zone, because I have a sinking suspicion there will be a 4.6 before I get around to the 5.0. I keep thinking, oh, this will be the last bit of changes. No, there's always one more thing. Okay, so while that guy's going, I want to take a quick gander over here. I was gonna put this one in here. So labels, bug. So let's see. I tried to add. So this gentleman here has been doing a lot of help. Anybody who's been acting on the forums has probably run across him. Zalek, probably butchering that name. I apologize very deeply. But he was trying to get some of these things added in and fixed. So we might just take a quick gander and see what's going on here. So this was, I tried to add filled combo box. So we might just take a look at this guy to see what is going on. Okay, so I'm gonna let's take a look at this guy here, and because I gotta wait for the other PR to finish. So let's go ahead and take a look at the filled combo box. And actually, I'm really enjoying my tests. So let's combo box tests. Oop, I saw it. Now I have to fix it. File scope namespace. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite things in the world. Absolute favorite thing in the world. The one thing that still bothers me is a lot of the default templates in Visual Studio don't switch to using it. I wish they would update those. Okay, so the key bit from this issue, though, is I need the filled combo box. So there's the tests. Let's take a look at the library, themes, combo box. Let's jump to the filled combo box. I think this one might be the default. Let's check. Find all. Let's see, demo. Oh, actually, we've got one right here. Filled combo box. Okay, so this guy goes here. And so let's just do, oh wait. Oop, that's not an underscore. That's an underscore. We'll just delay 4 seconds real quick and run the test. Because I am curious as to okay, so that fires up and works. Good enough. Good enough for now. And the question was around setting the attached properties. Setter, but doesn't change the padding and margin of the helper text for the filled combo box. So let's take a look at that guy. So if this trigger were just added here, this trigger won't work. And you'll note specifically because this target name is looking to go into a particular element, this type of trigger is only going to work in a control template. And I wonder if that may have been the mistake. So you'll note this one here is based on floating hint combo box, which is this one. And then this is based on material design combo box. So we get all the way into here. So I'm guessing if we do, so you'll note none of these things in here I would expect to apply, but then here is the control template. This is where I would expect that trigger to work. And if we come down to the bottom where the triggers are typically located, you'll note we've got a bunch of triggers in here. Trigger, 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 hint. So let me see, what is this? What was this trigger pointed at? Has filled text field. I'm looking for boom, boom. And it may just be that this is an oversight on some of these. So it looks like it probably is. But then you'll note this target name still doesn't appear to be targeting the right name. So the helper text wrapper would need to be an element up here. Let's go a hunting. You're not going to be in the pop-up. Where is the helper text? Helper text font size. That's the hint. Okay, so I'm guessing the problem is there's a subtle difference between this and something like the, what's the other ones he said he changed? Actually, he's got a commit to look at. Blah 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 blah. Fine, that's fine. So it's worth noting the helper text is the stuff that shows up at the bottom, not necessarily the not the hint. So the hint and the helper text, not the same thing. And you'll note this guy has helper text wrapper. That's on the date picker, password box. So that the helper text wrapper is expected to be the canvas that wraps the text block. So I assume in order to make this work, X name helper text wrapper goes like that. And then I pasted that thing in here somewhere. Huh. Where did I paste that? Where are you? Where are you? I left you down on 640. Okay. G640. There. This guy here. Text wrapper. This is all fine and good. But what this is showing is there isn't, those are the only, so there are none. Oh, that's interesting. So let's collapse some of this stuff and take a look at where this trigger should go. Because it is worth noting that triggers are order matters. So if two triggers both fire for some condition, last in wins. So we do want to be a little more. Wow, how many triggers do we have on this thing? Just a couple, it appears. Okay, so pop-up is open, validation has errors, is drop-down open, is keyboard focused, is enabled. So a lot of these are hint. I think I probably want it somewhere in this vicinity. Let's see. Helper text. I think it's gonna go like that. I really need to set up there. I recently reformatted some machines and have not reconfigured everything. There is something convenient that was added for formatting the XAML. Let's see. Contributing, I believe. Good first issue, up for coding style. Yes, this. I want this thingy. XAML styler. You, come here. Tools. Extensions. There we are. Let's see. Search, XAML styler. Pretty please. XAML styler for Visual Studio. Interesting. Okay. And then we're going to close and let that guy install real quick. And while that is doing its thing, I want to quickly check at what we put down here. If you could, considering sending in PRs. Yeah, because I know we set it up and configured it. Because at one point in time, there was some question about, well, we really should get some consistency across all the XAML files. I was like, I agree, but we should probably have consistency with tooling because consistency is hard to enforce otherwise. Okay. For better or worse, the first Mountain Dew's down. Probably for worse. What? My pull request failed? Oh, interesting. So a UI test that I didn't touch failed. Okay, I've seen this test fail now a number of times, and it's bothering me because that is likely indicative of a flaky test. It's also bothering me that this isn't. Oh, this is looking under Net 5 Windows. I'm pretty sure that's not where those tests go. I'm pretty sure we're running this guy under Net 6 now. Close. Let's go find out. I think we might have another bug to fix. And the other thing is, I'm pretty confident that I can hit rerun. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work. We'll just kick it one more time. And that is definitely something that bothers me. I do not like flaky pipelines. Flaky pipelines, flaky tests, all of those things are bad. Okay, so real quick, we're just gonna check the build. So build and test is where this thing goes. Here's the YAML. Yeah, so this is unfortunately using input build configuration. And I don't know if I'm build configuration release, but why is it looking under Oh, it's just hard coded to net5. Ugh. Well, that'll do it. Net6. There's your problem. Okay. That's probably not a good sign. I'm curious if this thing... Well, I don't want it to fail if there's no files found, because it won't create screenshots if there are no failures, but ugh. Okay, we're gonna just include that. We might just sneak that into our PR real quick. Because I think we're still on that branch, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Oh, let's see. Fixing UI test location for snapshots. And we'll just push that in. Just sneak that little guy right on in there. Okay, so back to our combo box issue. I've already forgot what line number we were on. That's the tests. We're going to be down here on the 736 range. G736, jump. What? No. Go to line 736. Go. That appears to have done a bunch of formatting, and I'm now terrified of what may have just happened. Oh boy. That is not what we want. Undo. Save. Undo. How do I save this without... I mean, I'm happy it's formatting, but it seems to be formatting inappropriately. So now I must find where the options are for it. Tools, options. Is there a XAML styler? Thank goodness. Okay, so... Thought we had documented in here what the defaults needed to be. Attributing. There was like a XAML styler file or something at the repo level. I'm a little hesitant to do something like this that's just gonna royally stomp on everybody. I don't see one. Okay. Let's take a quick gander over here. Documentation. Let's see. How do I configure this guy? Yeah, I kind of want... defines location. External configurations, because I kind of want a... Put your external configurations inside a settings XAML styler file in a directory up through your solution directory, and this will take precedence. That sounds like exactly what I want. We don't have one. That's a problem. That's a problem. We're gonna add one. We're just gonna keep adding scope to this while we're at it. Okay, but before we get too carried away, let's make sure that our stuff actually applies appropriately. So, int helper text. We're just going to slap these guys into our test real quick. And then because we are using a string literal, do that, do that, do that, unindent, indent, make that all pretty like. This should now have the appropriate helper text value. So the left should be offset by 16. So the idea is the helper text shouldn't be left justified when this thing is indented. Let's see. Oh, pile error. Try that again. Pretty confident. Oh, this is helper text font size of 20. Let's get rid of that. Let's try that one more time. Interesting that that's being offset like that. Let's see. Time span. That should have been fixed now. From minutes 10. I really do want to find a easier way of turning that debugging attached on and off. Did I leave myself? Let me just look real quick. I might have left myself a hook to turn that off. Let me look at this commit real quick. Did I leave myself a hook? Because it would be really cool if I could turn this thing on and off. Start remote. Use debugger. Nope. Adding an issue to this. Let's see. Issues. New issue. Add option to disable debugger attach. Now it always attaches the debugger if the host is being debugged. It would be nice to have this option that could be overridden. Boom. Okay. Logged to fix later. Okay, so there is no short version. There is no way for me to hack it because I did not leave myself an injection point. Okay, so what we want to do is figure out why our helper text isn't offset appropriately. And this guy here, based upon the change that we made, not those tabs. Based on these changes, the margin should have a left padding of 16. So if we look here, margin, it's being overridden and set to 0. The value source of default. That's interesting. It's especially interesting because I was the one who just added the name to this thing. Helper text wrapper. It is the same name, right? Yep. Okay, so let's close that. Why does this not? So G7 3.6, give or take a little now that it's been formatted. Oh, you know what I didn't do is I did not... Oh, and it's still sitting on the task delay. I did not check this attached property on it. Let's run that one more time. And let's just double check that the combo box does in fact have, so let's see, the attribute in question, text field assist has field text field. Let's go with text field assist. Ah. Got it. Okay, so it does work now after that. But this property isn't being set on the filled combo box. So let's go a little hunting here. Haha. Something like setter property WPF text field assist value true. That's now probably better. I gotta stop my running test, bring this back on screen so people can see what's actually happening. And this should... What? Why is that not set to true? That should be true. We just... Is there something else setting it to false? Material design filled combo box. Just rebuild real quick. Those are the only two references to it. Should be all we need. Especially since toggling it in Snoop, we can see that the value going to true does appropriately apply the padding and the margin as expected. Yeah. This is why I need a way to turn that thing off. Bet you I've got another rogue test console. Yeah, I do. And we got to fix those warnings in the packages. That's what else I want to fix. See if my other PR is. Hey, look at that. What a shock. Great. Oh, I didn't actually link this to the issue. Fixes. Down 2602. Boom. Update. Squash merge. Okay, and we can delete the branch. That should fix. That should fix this one. Okay, so that goes away. Okay. Now let's go back to the tests. Let's run this test one more time. Huzzah! Okay, so it just wasn't compiled appropriately. Okay, so summary of changes. We need to go back to... I got too many tabs open. Okay. A few things need to be changed for that trigger to work. Okay, so let's see. One, sure the trigger is being applied in the... What's the name of that control template? Implied in the triggers section of the control template. Let's see. Two. Let's see. Make sure to give the canvas. Let's see here. Make sure to give the canvas round. Can't spell. Nope. Nope. Oh. Around the helper text, the name in the, let's see, this guy here. Let's see, in the style that the attached property to true. Was a little surprised this was missing. Okay, and I think those were all the key changes. Set the attached property, make sure the trigger's in the control template, and then make sure that there's a name on the canvas. Those were the key changes. So comment, and I'm going to throw this in the 4.5 milestone, probably, because I suspect that one will make it in. Let's see, allow setting of the background. This one should be done now. Great. Squash merge. That's in. At some point I need to clean up the rest of those PRs. Some of those have been around for a while. Okay. So let's look at the milestone real quick. This one is the one we just added. This is the flipper one that I've been futzing with and not liking my solutions to. Okay, output. Let's take a look at first of all, we're going to get rid of that because I don't feel like waiting 10 minutes. Then I have a sinking suspicion that has left another test console process out there running. Die. Okay. Next on the chopping block. So I think now I can throw away my local changes. We can switch back to master for the moment. And this branch goes away because we merged it. And let's take a look at those build warnings about the build warnings on the NuGet stuff. Something about wanting to make sure we set a source. Then at some point I want to figure out a XAML styler external config and get that squared away. It will probably be a big bang merge, as it were, which I'm sure was just going to break all of my stuff, but I'll deal with it. Okay, let's see. Output warning. There are When using centralized package management, please map your package sources with package source mapping or specify a single package source. Okay, let's open up the URL and figure out what it says. Video walkthrough. That sounds exciting. Just show me the code. Declare your desired package sources in your NuGet config file. Let's see. Clear to ensure no additional sources are inherited. I think this is all we really need for our package sources. We aren't going to have custom ones. And then if we just declare NuGet.org, I think that satisfies the first condition of only having a single source, and then we don't need multiple source mappings. Map to one or more sources matching to... In other words, once you have defined a package source matching elements, you must explicitly define which sources every package, including transitive packages, will be restored from. Great. Both top-level and transitive packages must match defined patterns. Great. Okay, well, I think we might already have a NuGet config. We do not. Okay, so let's go make one. So let's see. I keep my stuff in that one. Okay, yeah, this directory. Okay, so easiest way to get a NuGet config. .NET new NuGet config. Boom. Then we are going to add it. So for people who may not be familiar with this, .NET new is actually a really awesome command. It's list, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of pre-canned templates. And so you can do .NET new for creating full solutions or projects. But you can also do a whole lot of .NET news for just individual files. So common ones are like, create me a gitignore. Great. Create me an editor config, a global JSON. So just getting those default files spun up, it's actually really great for that. And then the templates that you have in here are based upon what workloads you install in the Visual Studio installer. But you can also get additional ones that just come down as NuGet packages. So, which is kind of cool. At some point, I have this grand aspirations of actually releasing templates for the material design one too, for a lot of this common stuff. Because I find myself wanting that myself anyway. Okay, NuGet config. Okay, so that actually created the exact NuGet config I was going to do anyway. Huzzah. Okay. And I think we can get rid of, if we only have a single package source, if I understood the warning correctly. Oh, maybe not. I thought it was saying that I could do it if I had a single... Oh, stop. Okay, I'll finish letting you build it, and then I'll scroll over and look at it. Okay. Centralized management, please map your package sources with package source mapping or specify a single package source. I kind of feel like this is a single package source. Maybe I'm crazy. Okay, well, it seems unhappy with that. To fully onboard your repository, you must make the following steps. Okay. I think, okay, so fair. just grab this. Fine, if you're gonna be picky, and then we don't care about any of this. And then let's do now you should be happier. Interesting that you're still unhappy. Oh, this says NuGet.org. This says NuGet. I'm wondering if that is the problem. If those keys don't match. Yeah. I'm betting those keys not matching is a problem. Clear that out. Try again. You'll see one of them. Okay. Interesting. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to close Visual Studio, and I'm going to try the build here. Let's see. .NET build. Tab. I'm curious if Visual Studio was caching something, or if I get those same warnings here. Let's see. It's using centralized package version management as a preview feature. Yeah. That's was kind of the point. I note that those other warnings went away. Oh. No, I am on. I think I'm on latest. Hang on. I gotta look. I posted this to Twitter. To do profile. This guy. So if people are interested, whoop, there's a link. 60300 and later. I'm wondering if because I'm on a preview of 60300 if I don't have the latest. Let's just check. 60. I don't want that. I want 300. Hmm. 1722, which I believe is what I'm rolling. It is interesting. I didn't get the same errors in here, but I did still get errors about it being a preview feature, and I'm wondering if that's a artifact of my Visual Studio getting ahead of my CLI. Sorry, I just got an email that the pipeline run failed. And if it's the same failure, I'm going to be a little annoyed. Let's see, actions. Yeah, look at that. Build and test. Let's see. Outline button. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Solid color brush, get color. Interesting that test failed. look at that really quick. I am a little curious about that. Oh. So there's the dot color call. Why am I using get border brush? Should be using get border brush color. Not doing this garbage. That should be much better. Because I don't want to deal with trying to get a dispatcher in here and doing all that jazz. Okay, so that change there is a good one. So we're going to be making that in a moment anyway. Okay, so we're going to ignore that. And more importantly, I want to do a rebuild now and see if this guy is still squawking at me. Is calling out a NuGet preview feature. Okay, so it looks like the NuGet config fixes our other problem of some of the warnings, which is great. And I'm okay with it flagging it as a preview feature. I'm guessing that's just an artifact of my .NET SDK not being 60300 and 300 not being available quite this second. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here we go. So let's do create branch, fix warnings. Okay, so what do we got going on here? That. Actually, let's just stage it all. Let's see. Fix build warnings. Let's see. Fixes build warnings caused by updated package management changes. If I could spell. I also realize people can't see because my big fat head is in the way. Also fixes flaky test. Flaky. And I'm gonna actually just grab that URL real quick. Steal that guy. Paste that into the commit. Boom. And push. And view origin. Compare and pull request. Slap that into the 451. Create pull request. Cool. Well, with any luck, this thing runs through clean and everyone's happy. I think that is good. That is good. I think with that, I am probably going to wrap up for the night. Despite being loaded on caffeine, I have been going hard for the last several days and am a little bit exhausted. So I'm going to let this build simmer a little bit for the material design stuff. I know there's several people that have been testing the preview packages as they've been coming out, and I really appreciate that. If you happen to be one of them, please leave comments. Let me know. Either hit me up on the chat room or comment on one of the GitHub issues that things appear fixed. That always gives me a little bit more confidence that beyond just my tests, somebody's actually tested it in their app and it's looking a lot better. So, with any luck, maybe around weekend-ish time frame, might go through and kick the release out, assuming there hasn't been any pushback or feedback or whatnot. So, and this one should be a lot more stable for people. There's not a lot of new stuff in it, a lot of bug fixes, and all of the new features are around like the Material Design 3 styles and that kind of thing. With that, I will say thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Happy coding. I'll see everyone next time.